Hello, everybody. This is going to be a quick demo on how to create an iterable class and its necessary and associated iterator. And so in this example, I want you to imagine that you're doing a little web scraping. In this case, we have the CSE faculty directory. You view the page source, you search through for professor, and you find out, well, these things are going to be within this div tag, and then I'm going to be looking for these image tags, right? And then you write this whole thing, code, and you build this program, and you end up, getting this DOM document from the document object model. You're able to look up the div tags, you're able to look up the image tags, and it always gives you back this node list. And NodeList is not iterable, unfortunately. It sort of has the ability to get the length and a particular item, and it's sort of it's not a problem. You like for I loop through all this time, and you end up doing this a bunch. And what you want to be able to do is you're wondering, like, why didn't they make NodeList iterable so I can just iterate through it? And so in this example, we're going to build an iterable version of these node lists. We're going to be able to pass it any node list, and it'll turn it, sort of adapt it into the iterable interface. And it just sort of makes for a little bit of cleaner program. So instead of using, when I do the original version, of course, it generates this lovely page, which I can see everybody. And you can imagine any kind of web scraping app. And when I convert over to use this new form where I want to use my, my iterable version of it, this guy, excuse me, now it's going to be the true form. We're going to use this over iterable. Now I can just iterate, and it'll give me each node in turn. Now, when I run this, of course, I've sort of put in a node not yet implemented exception, and so we can see where that is. It's like sort of coming from here, which goes to there on the stack trace, and here we are in DOM node list iterable. Now I'm past this node list. Oftentimes when people pass me parameters to my constructors, I need to hang on to those things. So let's hang on to it. We'll call it the node list. And this guy, iterables themselves tend to be immutable. They tend to not have to change anything, or at least, they can be. Let me take that back. There are all sorts of iterables, including linked lists and array lists, which definitely mutate. In this case, this guy does not have to mutate. So we're going to be able to hang on to this node list in a final field or instance variable. Our iterator is definitely going to have to mutate. So we're going to end up creating a new class for this. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, let's make a new class. We will call it DOM node list iterator. It is going to be, it's going to implement iterator. This is also going to be of node. It's going to be of not node list, but it's going to be node, because if you look at this set right here, if I come back here, this class I had declared before, like, implements iterable of node. It's what we're going to do is we're going to give back each item in this node list. That's a node. And so I come back over to iterable, and this iterator method is going to have to create return a new DOM list iterator every time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this node list to it because it's going to need to know that information to work. Now, also, I don't need this guy to be public, right? In this case, I want this iterable class to be public because I want people to make and adapt their node list into the iterable interface. But as of this moment, I don't need this thing to be public, so let's not make it public. And private final, let's hang on to that node list passed to us. One of those things, if you make a field, and let's hit Control-Shift-O there, which organized my imports, it brought everything in for me. You can right-click and say source, generate a constructor using the fields, which is kind of nice. Oh, it's not, I have to select the class somehow. Let me see how that worked. Generate source, constructor using fields. There you go. I don't know why that didn't work the first time, but either way, there it is. I can leave the super if they want it in there. Now, this is going to be the immutable state on this iterator. Like, I never really need to change this node list. I'm going to just hang on to it. I am going to need a bonus piece of information, which is like, the index of where I am in this iterator. People are going to create these iterators quite often, and or I expect them to be able to. They should at least be able to support it. Every time I create a new one, you know, it should start out at the beginning, right? Now the default value for a field is 0. For an integer field is 0, so I don't have to explicitly say that, but if you want to, you can say it's 0. Now, Iterator has a couple of methods on it. If we tunnel in here, you can see it has next and next, right? And so I'm gonna have to support those two methods. I'm gonna have to implement them correctly. So what I can do is type has next, it'll fill it in for me, and obviously false is not exactly what I'm looking for. But index is less than NodeList, and that's my instance variables, length. That should tell me that this thing is working. Like that should tell me, like, by the way, there's more to go, right? Now the next method is the one where we're going to actually have to march along. So the first thing you should do when you're making an next method is see that it's in the right state. So if it actually has an X, we're going to do something. Someone outside of us should be calling that and make sure that it's not happening. If it's not, if that's not in there, we can sort of check and see what this guy is going to say. I can hit F2 there, figure out what it says. It says we should throw no such element exception if it's not there. So throw new no such element exception. That's just appropriate. You should never end up here because people should be calling has next before calling next. But you know, we want to make sure that we got everything correct. Now, what I want to do is hang on to the result, right? And this is going to be equal to the node list, that instance variable that I have, dot item at index. Then I need to march along. This is the part where I'm actually going to mutate this. So now index, or I can do like ++ index, right? We'll move that up. Then I return result. And now I have this perfectly valid iterator, right? It implements iterator of node. It implements the methods required on iterator, has next and next. My iterable implements my DOM node list iterable implements iterable. It has an iterator method that needs to create a new one that's set up to the front, right? That's working because I create one of my DOM list iterators and return it. And now back all the way in my client, right? Instead of, you know, now I'm going to be using this your two image URLs via iterable method. Now when I run it, it will also work and produce the correct version. Let me see where this is coming. Oh, there it is, finally up. And there you go. Let me close this up. Close the second one. I ran it twice because it was for some reason taking some time. And it's working. And so now I can move on. I can get rid of this old version. I'm like, all right, no more of that. I can only use these iterable versions all the time. And I can use them for all my future web scraping desires. And so that was just a quick demo on how to build a class that implements Iterable and its associated iterator.